Chris Canty from ESPN's Unsportsmanlike with his take on the firing of Kevin Stefanski.
Per Adam Schefter, Browns GM Andrew Berry will spearhead the search for Cleveland's next head coach. So Berry stays, Stefanski goes.
So if he's picking the next head coach, that puts a little bit of validity to the conversation that we were having earlier in the season about the versus between the head coach and who his quarterback of choice was versus the general manager and who his rookie quarterback of choice was, right? Remember, we always had the versus between Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Well, why isn't Shedeur getting an opportunity, and why is Dylan Gabriel getting so much runway with the results not being there? Now Kevin Stefanski being fired, Again, it colors it a little bit differently for me in terms of confirming some of the suspicions that we had throughout the course of the season and how this quarterback situation, as far as the rookies for the Browns goes, played itself out.
Jeff, I don't know that I buy that completely, but if you do, I'll listen to it. I don't see that, but I could be wrong.
Well, the whole thing and what basically we learned is they felt that Dylan Gabriel was further along the path when they selected him as opposed to Shedeur Sanders. They told you they think Shedeur Sanders needed time, needed to basically, learn how to work within the offense as opposed to the offense working within him at a school where his father coached in college. Kind of seems like it makes a lot of sense to me. Now, Shedeur, and this is the thing, the pro-Shedeur crowd, look, he hasn't played anywhere nearly as good as the pro-Shedeur crowd thinks, and he probably hasn't been as poor as the anti-Sanders crowd says. Somewhere in between. But if you think there are any positives that you saw from Shedeur Sanders over this run here as a starting quarterback, then the plan was correct. They felt he needed some time. They felt that, there were things that he was doing at Colorado that he just didn't do, that he needed to do in the NFL, play under center a little bit. He absolutely had to find a way to, not be giving up all these yards and sacks that he was giving up. And to his credit, at times he did. The Pittsburgh week with only 2 sacks wasn't bad. He took 5 sacks yesterday. But the thing, Dylan Gabriel being picked at almost 100 and Shedeur being picked at almost 144, if this is make or breaking people's jobs, how about the real simple was get a real quarterback? We talked about this over the summer, Dave, and this is basically when, Haslam was saying that he felt there was, whatever happened, he thought he was comfortable with the group who were leading this team. 2 seconds later, he says the emphasis that you're going to need to see the young guys. So basically everything went that we thought it was going to happen, but then all of a sudden, and again, like you said earlier, look, there's nothing you can do. You win 8 games in 2 years, that's your record. You got to wear it. That's basically what you're ultimately going to be, graded upon. But I think somewhere along the line, they kind of pulled that rug out from underneath. And, who knows when it was, but at that point, Kevin had no offensive line left. There was, obviously, a lot of deficiencies in the skill unit on the offensive side of the ball. The defense at times was getting taxed and wasn't able to give you 60 minutes of football. It just seems like there were a lot of issues, and, it seems like they were just comfortable with one change is going to fix all. And, for Andrew Berry, I don't know if he's a coffee drinker or not, but he better, decide to start becoming a coffee drinker, because finding a head coach, all of this work he's got to do towards his roster, it feels like he's got about 2 off seasons worth of work to get done in one off season.